Hello and welcome. This is Notibot Yenji. Tonight, we bring you the latest developments in the Middle East, where tensions are escalating and alliances are shifting. The conflict in Yemen has taken a dramatic turn as the Houthis launched strikes on Israel, drawing Iran into the war. Meanwhile, Qatar and Ukraine have signed a defense agreement, marking a new chapter in the Gulf states' efforts to counter Russia's influence. We'll break down the key developments and explore the implications for the region and the world. A dramatic escalation of the Middle East conflict has begun, as Iran's militant Houthis launch surprise strikes on Israel, drawing international attention to the region. According to reports, Houthis in Iran have escalated their conflict with Israel, launching a series of strikes on Israeli targets. The attacks have targeted facilities in Bahrain, including those of Aluminium Bahrain, a major aluminum producer. 2 employees were injured in the strikes, with the company confirming minor injuries. Bahraini authorities have not released further details on the incident. The conflict is believed to have started a month ago, with Kuwait being a recent target of Iranian missile strikes. The Kuwaiti military has reported intercepting hostile attacks, with some drones striking the area around Kuwait International Airport. Airspace has been closed to commercial traffic since the start of the conflict. The situation has significant implications for global markets, particularly in the agriculture sector. Farming expert Lance Lillibridge from Iowa expressed concerns about the rising costs of diesel and fertilizer. The price of ammonia and urea, key ingredients for fertilizers, have increased by 20% and 50% respectively since the start of the conflict. The conflict has also led to skyrocketing prices for diesel and fertilizer, further straining the already struggling agriculture industry. Lillibridge described the situation as trying to take this all away from us right now. The escalating conflict highlights the potential for global instability and its impact on international trade and economies. As the situation continues to unfold, the international community is watching with concern, particularly in light of the increasing tensions between Iran and Israel. Building on his Gulf tour, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has secured a major defense agreement with Qatar, marking a significant shift in regional alliances. Qatar and Ukraine have signed a landmark defense agreement, marking a significant development in the strategic partnership between the two nations. The agreement was announced during a visit to Qatar by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who is currently on a tour of the Gulf region to strengthen ties with regional leaders. The defense agreement aims to enhance cooperation between Qatar and Ukraine in the areas of military equipment, logistics, and training. According to sources, the agreement will enable the exchange of military technology, including anti-aircraft systems and drones, as well as joint military exercises. The move is seen as a significant gesture of support by Qatar to Ukraine, which has been embroiled in a conflict with Russia since 2014. The agreement is also viewed as an attempt by Qatar to strengthen its position in the region and counterbalance the influence of Russia. The partnership between Qatar and Ukraine is seen as a key component of the Gulf states' efforts to diversify its military alliances and reduce its dependence on the United States. The agreement marks a significant shift in Qatar's foreign policy, as it seeks to build stronger ties with countries in the region and expand its military presence. The agreement was welcomed by Ukrainian officials, who hailed it as a major breakthrough in the country's efforts to modernize its military. The partnership is expected to have significant implications for Ukraine's defense sector, as it seeks to strengthen its capabilities against Russian aggression. As the global landscape continues to shift in response to ongoing conflicts, the G7 is seeking a delicate balance between addressing Russia-Ukraine and Iran tensions. The G7 foreign ministers gathered in the French countryside for a 2-day summit aimed at addressing the ongoing conflicts in Russia-Ukraine and Iran. The meeting, which began on Thursday, brings together the foreign ministers of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States to discuss strategies for de-escalating tensions and promoting peace. However, the meeting has been criticized for its lack of clear action plans and a unified stance on the conflicts. The G7 has been accused of being too focused on its own interests and not doing enough to support Ukraine and Iran. The summit has been described as a photo opportunity by some, with analysts warning that the G7's efforts to address the conflicts will be insufficient to resolve the crises. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to arrive on Friday, bringing with him a blunt message about the United States' agenda on the conflicts. Rubio has been a vocal critic of Russia's actions in Ukraine, and his arrival is seen as a key moment in the summit. The United States has been one of the most vocal critics of Russia's actions in Ukraine and has imposed significant sanctions on the country in response. The meeting also comes as the World Trade Organization warns of a global trade war, citing rising tensions between the United States, China, and Europe. The WTO has called for greater cooperation and dialogue to resolve trade disputes, but its warnings have fallen on deaf ears in the face of the ongoing conflicts in Russia, Ukraine, and Iran. The G7's efforts to address these conflicts will be closely watched by global markets and investors. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, a new flashpoint has emerged in Yemen, drawing the world closer to a devastating conflict in the region. The situation in the Middle East continues to escalate with a series of attacks targeting U.S. military bases in the region. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis have confirmed a second wave of attacks on Israel since they joined the war on Saturday. The attacks have raised concerns about the risk of an Iran war. On Sunday, Syria's Assistant Defense Minister, Sipan Hamo, confirmed that his country's forces had repelled a drone attack from Iraq targeting one of Syria's last U.S. military bases. The attack came a day after Syria's army said it repelled another drone attack from Iraq aimed at Al-Taif, a base in the southeast which used to house U.S. forces. Iraq has arrested 4 people in connection with that attack. Iraq has been pulled into the war since it was sparked by U.S. and Israeli strikes against Iran. Pro-Tehran Iraqi groups have claimed responsibility for attacks on U.S. interests in Iraq and across the region, while strikes have also targeted these groups. The conflict has engulfed much of the Middle East, with Oman also being targeted in a drone attack on its port. The attacks on U.S. military bases in Iraq and Syria have raised concerns about the stability of the region. The U.S. and its allies have been critical of Iran's involvement in the conflict, while Iran has maintained that it is fighting to defend its interests. The situation is complex and volatile, with many countries having a stake in the conflict. The international community is watching the situation closely, with many leaders calling for calm and restraint. As tensions escalate in Eastern Europe, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is intensifying diplomatic efforts with key Gulf states on missile and drone countermeasures. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has announced significant defense agreements with Gulf states, amid a growing aerial campaign by Iran against its neighbors. On Saturday, Qatar and Ukraine signed a 10-year defense agreement, focusing on countering threats from missiles and drones. This comes as Iran has been intensifying its attacks on countries in the region, including the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, in retaliation for U.S.-Israeli strikes. Zelenskyy stated that Ukraine and the UAE have agreed to cooperate on defense, with a focus on joint production, energy cooperation, and sharing battlefield experience. He also expressed interest in Ukraine playing a role in restoring security in the Strait of Hormuz, a strategic waterway connecting the Middle East to Europe. The Ukrainian leader emphasized that Ukraine's primary goal is not to engage in simple sales, but to build long-term ties with Middle Eastern countries. These agreements mark a significant shift in Ukraine's foreign policy, as the country seeks to expand its defense partnerships and counterbalance Russia's influence in the region. Ukraine's defense industry has gained international recognition for its cutting-edge drone interceptors, which have played a crucial role in the country's defense against Russia's invasion. By securing high-end air defense missiles and cooperation with Gulf states, Ukraine aims to bolster its defenses and counter Russia's attacks. The implications of these agreements are far-reaching, with potential implications for regional stability and the global balance of power. Meanwhile, in a region where geopolitics and technology collide, lucrative deals are being struck in Ukraine amidst rising tensions in the Middle East. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has concluded a week-long tour of the Gulf region, securing several major defense agreements with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. These agreements, worth billions of dollars, aim to bolster the security of these countries, which have been hit by Iranian drones and missiles in recent months. Iran has been firing its Shahid drones across the region, in retaliation for U.S.-Israeli air attacks on Iranian targets. These strikes have raised concerns among Gulf states, which have been seeking ways to counter the threat. Ukraine's air defense technology has caught the attention of these countries, with Zelenskyy touting his country's world-leading air defenses. Ukraine's suite of tools to fend off Russian drone attacks, including its cheap and highly effective drone-on-drone interceptors, is seen as a game-changer in the region. Saudi Arabia and the UAE have already expressed interest in purchasing these systems, worth billions of dollars. Qatar has also offered support, committing to purchase several Ukrainian air defense systems. These agreements are a significant coup for Ukraine, which has been facing its own military, economic, and diplomatic challenges since the Russian invasion in 2014. The war has disrupted Western arms supplies to Kyiv, and oil prices have risen as a result, benefiting Russia. By securing these agreements, Zelenskyy has sought to craft an opportunity from the war and to create a new market for Ukraine's air defense technology. The implications of these agreements will be significant and will likely have far-reaching consequences for the security of the region. That's all for today's news update. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue to bring you updates on the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine. If you'd like to stay informed, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We'll provide you with the latest news and analysis, so you can stay ahead of the curve. We'll be back with more news soon. Until then, goodbye.